All right, we should be live. Good evening, guys. What's up, Mowgli? Good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. Let's give it a minute, and then we're gonna be kicking this off as usual. Do I need to tweet this as well? I mean, I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. I had a good weekend. Spent some time with the kids. Today we actually had some sun here in the Netherlands, so I was just chilling, man. Trying to enjoy some quality time with the kids. And some sun on my face always does wonders. What about you, Mowgli? How are you doing? Good evening, Dave. What's up, Rocky? What's up, Soa? Good to see you, man. I know, right? That's what it's all about. Just trying to enjoy these little moments. I've actually, I'm reading a book, The Power of Living Now, or something along those lines. It's more about, being in present moment. Usually, I'm just always stuck in my head about thinking about yesterday, tomorrow, and I really need to be quitting that. Like, it's not good. Need to be enjoying my stuff more. Be thankful about the current present moment. A 3-day weekend here in the US for MLK Day. Yeah, man, I saw that. I was looking at I was peeking the news-driven events. I was like, okay, do we have anything here? But it's a long-ass weekend. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So that's going to be fun for Bitcoin. My nationality, I'm Dutch. I'm from the Netherlands. Amsterdam. I figured you'd hear that with my accent because I think it's pretty bad, but Mowgli saying, oh good man, thanks. So we had a day off, went to town with the missus, got a couple of bits for the flat. That's good, bro. Off next week, so looking forward to finally getting stuck into all your stuff and live streams. Nice, man. Nice. We're gonna be ramping it up. Right. Let's see, we've got the VWAP here, regular chart layout. We've got that. Do we have the prep ready to go? It's January 18, tick size 16. Right. We got a 3-day holiday, so we don't have much as well in terms of that. Let me clean this up because we no longer have that. Good evening, Roland. Good to see you, man. What's up, Mikawa? Good to see you. All right. Great. What's up, everybody? It's good to see y'all. Do you do months before days? Yeah, no, we do days before month. So I'm saying it's the 18th. It's the 18th, right? Did I say 18? Yeah. So usually how we type it here, it's 18, 1, and then the year number, right? That's how we do it. I'm just writing it out, January 18, because I'm like, it's good enough. Either way, what is up, everybody? Hope you're all doing well. Before we kick off the stream, I do want to do a big shout out to the sponsor of the stream, which is Bybit. Now, if you are interested in anything that I'm using, the templates, the Discord that we're running, the indicators, you can get everything for free, right? Let your exchange pay for you. All you have to do is create an account on Bybit or Blovin for that matter. And then what you have to do is you have to select it, and then you connect your user ID here and then just start trading. And if you're already trading on Bybit, for example, it doesn't really matter, right? Just trade on the My Link and you get free access to everything. If for that matter, you're not able to trade on Bybit, right? Due to regulations, because let's be honest, regulations are getting really rough out there, especially in Europe. I highly recommend Breakout. I've been partnered with them for the last week, and I was thinking about, wouldn't it be fun if I were to just provide a free monthly subscription for everybody that is new to Breakout, right? Doesn't really account for it for someone that's already on Breakout, but if you are new to Breakout and want to get your feet wet in terms of, prop firm, I highly recommend Breakout. What you'll do is you'll use my code, which is Prime. I will post it in the description below during checkout, and then if you're new to Breakout, you'll get a free month within our Discord as well. So I think, I'm very excited about that. I think it's a good combination about having capital, right, and then instantly being able to follow a plan. So exciting things. With that being said, let's take a look at the charts Today we're going to be looking at Bitcoin. We're going to be diving into the trade setups for the week ahead. What I think is really important. Are we going to go up? Are we going to go down? And most importantly, what is the bullish invalidation if we are actually going to go up? And for that, we're going to be using long-term VWAPs, price action, market profile, all the goodies. So with that being said, let's jump straight in. Daily review is January 18. The TPO tick size that I'm using for my extra charts layout remains 65 for the weekly, daily composites. The session profiles, it's all the same for me. Now, if we're taking it back right here, news events, we got none, right? We got a 3-day holiday in USA, which means that we can do, a bit of a chill day. Unfortunately for me, or, for Bitcoin, generally speaking, I would prefer, I don't really like long weekends on Bitcoin, especially after we've just seen a significant move higher. I need this to be the low, right? For this to start moving upwards. And a 3-day weekend, I don't really know about that. But, let's be mindful of that. And let's bring it straight towards the longer term VWAP yearly time frame. Right here, let's get this out of the way. Right there. The extra charts layouts are going to be, I think it's within 2 days or whatever. Like Viren actually commented within the extra chart server. I have no real, leverage on that, but he said it's soon. And whenever he's saying it's soon, then it's definitely going to be soon. So for those of you who are new to the streams, yearly time frame, this is the quarterly time frame, this is the monthly time frame, then we have the weekly time frame in terms of the VWAPs. I'm going to be starting off on the yearly here. And what Bitcoin essentially is doing is, it is, what's up, Hawk? No, it is. I'm not lying. It is trading within the lower half of that previous year value. Meaning, if we're getting a spike upwards, I expect Bitcoin to be capping upside around the 100K pivot. It's also confluent with the yearly rolling VWAP. And, if we're not able to accept above, we're going to be getting a full reversion lower back into the 88K region. If we're losing this as support, right, that structure, I think we're going to go down back to take out this low into that previous year value, where the real test will be. So, can we really use this as an actionable insight for this trading week? Nah, not really, right? We can't really use that. Which brings me towards the quarterly. And as you can see right here, we've got the yearly as well. The quarterly is almost identical compared to the previous year value. It is rotational within the lower half. Previous quarterly VWAP, previous quarterly value low. Is there anything that we can use nearby in terms of a weekly trading prep? No, there's not, which means that we're moving our focus more towards monthly value and weekly value for this week. That said, let's take a look at the monthly. So the thing that I want to be mindful of here is I get some questions where people say, well, we have now accepted above previous month value high right there, right? We've accepted above. When there's no real pivots above us based on the monthly, do you look left of the chart and be like, do we have any previous monthly values? Yes, I do. And in this case, we've got the November VWAP, right? And if we extend that throughout time, it is exactly where we're currently finding new value. So we're forming a new range here at that prior month VWAP from November. And as you will see in a bit, I will have that level marked out on my charts as well. So in my opinion, Bitcoin is, if it can reclaim that structure there, we're probably going to see some upside, right? But if we're struggling, like we're really struggling compared with the developing month value high, like that's not really what I want to see. So confirmation for me would be above. Until then, this is likely to be the next range. It's either going to be a distribution where confirmation for a bearish case would be a clean break back below, followed by a retest, at which I think we're going to be retagging these lows and those lows and those lows, or we're holding this as support, at which I expect this to trade into 100K. Heading into next week, let's go to our 2-hour chart right here. I think one of the most important pivots short term is going to be previous week value, right? We will have new previous week value high, new previous week VWAP, new previous week value area low. If Bitcoin is bullish, I'll put it like that. We need to maintain this as support. Simple as. It is also confluent with the 90-day rolling VWAP. It is also confluent with the 7-day rolling VWAP. So, and I will show you that later, but there's a cluster here that really needs to hold. So early on in the week, we might see some fuckery, maybe even take out this low once more. I just need to see this maintaining that VWAP on, let's say, an hourly close, for example, right? I don't really want to see a shift back below because that would be bearish. Sweep, reclaim, and it's en route for move into 96.8 for short-term rotation. If we take out this low right here. Let's say that we take out these highs, then break structure below that, below previous week VWAP, right? And we are not able to reclaim that as support. I think this is gonna go lower back into the value area low. So short-term trades are mainly gonna be based around this developing week value, which will be the upcoming previous week value. And without that, but you know, that being said right here, like the longer term, it remains the same right here. So let's write this out. Go towards the daily prep here. Longer term VWAP, we are rotational within previous year value. The quarterly, what are we doing? We are rotational within previous quarterly value. The monthly, what are we doing? We are rotational within developing month value. And then all eyes on November VWAP. Then we have the weekly, rotational within developing week value, new previous week VWAP, important, like that. I'm doing good, man. Thank you for asking. How are you doing? Are you using the H2 or 30-minute for weekly VWAP? I'm using the 30-minute charts for weekly VWAP. But if you're, you know, if you really want to use the 2-hour chart, by all means, use it, bro. Rolling VWAPs. Let's go towards the regular chart. So this is a chart layout where I have everything lined up. The previous quarterly VWAP, previous year VWAP, November VWAP, the upcoming previous week VWAP. And we can see that we are currently trying to form a base here. We're just struggling with the 2-day right there, though. So I'll show you that as well. Rolling VWAPs. Let's plot them on the charts. So to zoom in right here, let's get rid of these. Bitcoin is trying, right? This was the first time where we accepted back above the 30 rolling VWAP, which is good. We got the first retest, bullish, right? Held as support, trend continuation higher. Now we saw initial selling coming in at the 90-day rolling VWAP. We're trying to accept above. We just swept out this low, but we had the confirmation on the H4 that we actually have a bullish shift. No, we don't, right? We have a confirmation the moment we get an H4 close above this yellow line. If we do that, I think we can have, you know, potentially a move higher into this high, that high, potentially the yearly rolling VWAP. But until then, right, this is just weak sauce unless, you know, we can really get some strength behind this move. So far, 90-day is capping downside. It is confluent with the 7-day rolling VWAP. And if I put the drawings back on, we can see that this cluster is also confluent with the November VWAP and the upcoming previous week VWAP. All in all, a level that needs to hold a support, meaning above, and we have our shot at the yearly rolling VWAP, which is roughly around 99.5k, and below, we're getting the rotation lower into the 8-week value area high, which is going to be our higher time frame bullish line in the sand. So let's write that out. The 7-day rolling VWAP is confluent with 90-day. Then we have the 30-day rolling VWAP, which is confluent, whoops, don't type it all out, with previous month value area high. And then we've got a 90-day rolling VWAP that is confluent with November VWAP. And then we have the 365-day confluent with previous year VWAP. All right, so we've covered long-term VWAP, covered rolling VWAPs. Now I want you to take a look at what are we doing on the high time frame in terms of session profiles, weekly composites, regular composites. So let's take a look, right? Opening up extra charts, and I'm starting with the weekly here because this is really important. We have been range bound. Oh, where the fuck are my TPOs? All right. So we have not been range bound. Oh my gosh, everything's gone. So we have been range bound here. Let's ignore this, right? Session profile. These are weekly profiles. We've been rotating here within an 8-week composite. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have merged all of those weeks together, which then gave us an 8-week composite here. Yeah, I'm not going to be reloading the chart because maybe I can reload this. Reload chart. Did it fix? Didn't fix. So let's not try and jinx it. Otherwise, the rest of my chart's getting, you know, blasted as well. Either way, this is actually the first time that we are accepting above the 8-week value, which is bullish in my opinion, right? So higher time frame, as long as Bitcoin maintains 92.1k as support, it's looking good. But if I were to ask myself, like, okay, we finally got the drive higher, right? We finally get the push away from value. Would this really be bullish if we go all the way back down into 92s? Not really, in my opinion, because that would also signal that, hey, you know what? We tried to break above the 90-day rolling VWAP. You know, did the market do a good job of that? No, did a shitty job. Now we're back at the 8 week. So I think if we're getting something along these lines, we're likely to get some sort of, some sort of reversion from that level, and then eventually break down and go all the way back to the, 88K region, potentially 75K region, right? So that's bearish. But until this, until that happens, bullish hard time frame. Then if we're taking a look at what we recently formed is in terms of the profiles right here. Let's reset this profile here, reset this TPO. So after this push higher, we initially rejected there, which was the 90-day rolling VWAP. Then we broke above. Then we had 2 picture perfect days of overlapping value, right? This entire day was overlapping with the previous day, meaning we can merge these 2 days together, merge TPO, and that gave us a 2-day composite. Fat ass point of control there. We got an older 2-day value high there, right? And now we have 1, 2, 3 days with overlapping value, but this is the key takeaway here. Due to the lack of volume and due to the lack of, rotational stuff like that, I am not going to be putting a lot of emphasis on these profiles. I'm saying this every stream on Sunday. Saturday, Sunday, dog shit. You shouldn't be trading it. Like, there's no volume, right? And that means if there's no volume, the profiles, right? The volume profiles doesn't really make sense to put a lot of emphasis on that, okay? Friday, I'll take it. We got a poor high there. That's what I want to be aware of. Besides that, I think the naked point of control that we have here on a regular chart, right there, right? The naked point of control here is standing out to me. And then similar to this naked point of control, right? Where we rebalance that. Poor highs there. And, the fact that we are not able to accept back within the 2-day composite as well, which makes this even better, because if we get that structural break on the H4, what does that imply? It implies that we're back to being rotational within the 2-day composite, and we could be expecting a move higher back into the 97.6K region. Okay. Besides that, is there anything else that I want to be mindful of? Not really. Like, it's a really boring rotational here, rotation there, where Bitcoin remains pinched between a recent 2-day value area low and an older 2-day composite value area high, and that's it. So let's make sure that we write that out. Let's go back to the prep. TPO. We are unable to reclaim 2-day composite value low for now. And we have poor highs January 16. We have a naked point of control at 96.495. And then we have the value accepted outside of the 8-week value, right? That's this is the key takeaway here. Can I do this in bold? Can I do that? Value accepted outside of the 8-week value. Most important takeaway here, basically from the TPO. So let's summarize everything that we've just said within long-term VWAP, rolling VWAP, TPO, because we did a lot, right? We went over the VWAPs, we went over the rolling VWAPs. Y'all are buying this shit right now, right? Thinking that we're getting a structure break, leaving me offside. But let's summarize everything. This week marks the first week that Bitcoin is able to potentially accept outside of the 8-week value with a high time frame bullish line in the sand. I can't type today. Around 90.125. This is that value market on the charts. That's the 8-week value area high, which means as long as we trade above, we can expect Bitcoin to trade higher into the previous year VWAP. By the way, guys, whilst I type out this summary, what type of content would you like to see? Because I stream on a Sunday. Like, would you want to have, like, if I do like 2 videos a week, right? Just recorded videos. Would you like to have a quick rundown like we're currently doing? Or would you prefer to have like a TPO only mode, right? Where I just break things down based from a volume profile perspective. Let me know in the comments, or let me know in the chat right now what you would like to see. Bitcoin trade higher into the previous year VWAP. which is in line with the 100K big figure. Big figure. Invalidation for this thesis is a clean break back within the 8-week value, at which I expect Bitcoin to trade back into the lows and potentially 75K. Sounds creepy, right? But you know, it could be. All right, short term. Bitcoin is pinched between the upcoming previous week VWAP, and November VWAP. All eyes on those two as the shift above or below marks the trend for the week. All right. Narrative. So narrative is, you know, what am I going to be trading this week? Main focus this week will be on the November VWAP. Whoops, I cannot type anymore. November VWAP confluent with 2-day composite very low. And the upcoming previous, damn, can't type previous week VWAP confluent with 7-day rolling VWAP. Because those two values, if we quickly go back towards this chart, this cluster right here, like we're either breaking back within the range, getting a retest, and holding the 2-day composite for rotation higher into the value high, potentially the yearly rolling VWAP, or we're just doing a weak sauce and we sweeping these highs and get below and then auction lower, right? So it's either one of these. Which brings me towards the hypos. Only 2 trades this week because I'm gonna keep it really simple. In terms of a long, I want to see genuine break above November VWAP, confluent with 2-day composite very low for longs towards 2-day composite very high and previous year VWAP. And then for short, a failed break above November VWAP, followed by a break below the failed break above November VWAP, followed by a break below the November followed by a break below the 7-day rolling VWAP for shorts towards the 8-week value area high. Okay, line in the sand, bullish. What is my line in the sand short term? Short term, my line in the sand is going to be the upcoming previous week VWAP confluent with the 7-day rolling VWAP. Long term, I went over that. It's going to be the 8-week value high there, right? So if we're short term accepting back below, does that mean that I'm higher time frame bearish? No, but it does mean that I'm expecting this to trade lower, right? If we accept below the 8-week value high like that, I think this is going to be running all the way back into 85s and potentially way lower, okay? Short-term bearish line in the sand. 2-day composite very low, confluent with November VWAP. Long-term bearish line in the sand. Yearly rolling VWAP, confluent with the previous year VWAP. Okay? So let's write it out. Bullish line in the sand. Short-term 7-day rolling VWAP. Long-term 8-week value area high. Bearish line in the sand. Short-term November VWAP. Long-term previous year VWAP. And that, my friends, is a wrap for this stream. Let me show you the hypos once more. Let's get rid of this, get a clean chart. Essentially what we went over here is if Bitcoin is bullish, what we need to see is a genuine break above this high. Spend some time and space, get the confirmation there, right? And then I think this has the potential to run up into the 2-day composite value high and then potentially into the previous year VWAP around 100K. All right, trade number 1. Trade number 2 for me would be take out these equal highs, clean up a point of control, get back below, structure break, below the upcoming previous week VWAP, right? Do this. And then I think at that point, we're running it lower towards, you know, this inefficiency there. And then potentially into the 8-week value area high. That will be trade number 2. Is that clear for everybody? And are there any questions to what we've just covered? Let me go back over the chat to see what you guys responded. Small update on how we're doing according to weekly planning. Probably a video of how value is developing during the week. That's good as well. I'll be doing the streams. Don't worry. I'm streaming weekly for sure. Keep the streams, or also maybe add 7 to 8 minute short videos. So like my guy wants me to post 8 videos a week. Well, I can do that. Monthly value high. Why use VWAP based on time frames and not start off impulses of local tops, lows? It's because I like the system. It helps me define where we currently are relative to a yearly, quarterly, monthly, and a weekly time frame. The 2-day naked component controls also the developing week VWAP standard deviation 1. Yeah, I like that. I like that nuance of the confluence between the two. Like, there's a bunch of inefficiencies here, right? And this is why, you know, if we do clean this up, take out the point of control there, and then have a structure break, you know, it's essentially the reason why I'm thinking we might be going up is due to this inefficiency, right? But if we clean them up and close below the 2-day composite value low again, this is bearish. I'm probably gonna go lower, right? So that's nice. Yeah, I'm thinking about that as well, pretty more. So let's say I take a trade, I post about it, and then I go over the, you know, the execution on why we took the trade. I think I like that idea as well. Why I took certain trades, what the triggers are based on order flow, based on price action, and then we can go from that point on. Like, we can do that. How would you have extra order flow settings for Sol? Don't mind if you prefer looking at this in group. I will show you that in the group tomorrow, okay, buddy? At that point, because I can, you know, show you my charts and then the settings for that. So we'll go over that in the Discord. Remind me during the stream tomorrow. How would you enter with the H4 close above the local range? So, you know, for me, like, my execution is mainly based on a 30-minute. But if we're getting like an H4 structure above here, then I think invalidation can be below this low. And you can enter here. And we're targeting this and then potentially higher. Because if you're right, like, this is a structure break, right? We took out this low, we took out that low, then we have a structure break. Short term, we took out this low. This was the up close candle prior to the low being swept. So if we're getting a close above, then we have... Holy shit. I almost choked on my own spit. And then we have like a protected low here, right? So we have no reason to revisit this low once more. Ah, almost died there. Weekly videos could be trade breakdown as well as educational videos. High volume bar, triggers, steady TPO, stuff like that. I like that. That's the only good idea, I think. Cause in the middle of the week, no point doing midweek breakdown, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, like, I like the breakdown point of view because if something important happens, right, it's good to see that follow through on the plan that we went over. But I think it's more important, or I think it will be more valuable to see, like, hey, I took a trade here. This is why I took a stop on the trade, or this is why it was a winning trade, right? I went out and then I go over the, you know, the order flow perspective, regular naked charts, TPO, what it's doing, like just some basic videos. I won't down you, I promise. My son is sick though, because, you know, he's getting back to school and he's sick. So whatever he has, I always get. So I think I'm getting it. So how long I hold a position on average, it truly depends on the data that I'm getting, but I always try to aim, you know, to close everything before head to bad. So if the trade works out for me for a 2-hour trade, I try to, you know, at least capture it. So it's really dependent. I've got 2 different accounts. One is a intraday account where I try to either, you know, get these lower time rotations in, and the other one is purely based on the higher time frames. So I will just look at the H12 chart based on the quarterly, for example, and I'll look at an H12 low being swept, followed by some confirmation, or maybe if I'm seeing that, okay, we're getting like genuine break back within the quarterly value, am I going to be really picky and wait for a retest there, or am I just going to be buying this here with an invalidation below the low, right, targeting previous quarterly VWAP? So I've got 2 separate accounts for that. So it's really, you know, it depends on, you know, the conditions that we have. Like, are we in a rotational environment, right? At that point, I'm like, you know, the rotations from previous day value back into previous day value low. Let me see if I can find an example. I believe it was this chart, this day here. Let's get rid of this one. So for example, right here, right? I think this was a good rotation. Expand blocks and letters. So performing a rotational environment, expand blocks and letters right there as well, right? Essentially what we do is when we open up within previous value, what do we have? We've got resistance in the form of a value high there. So if the market is telling us, I didn't take this trade by the way, but this is how you could trade it. So if we're rotational within previous value, what's the target? It's going to be naked point of control, previous value low there, right? So these rotations happen pretty frequently if we're in a rotation environment. And those are pretty much, those happen throughout the time span of a day. So let's say I get short here. Most of the times I tend to, you know, reduce my size or at least take 70% off before I head to bed, because I just no longer, like back in the day, I would keep my positions open, but I don't want to have that, you know, that stress when I wake up, instantly check my phone. What did the market try to do, bro? That shit's, it's haunting, man. It's not good for you. So that's why I try to, I've been doing this for quite some time. So I went from trying to be in a trade at every second of the day towards trying not to be in a trade for every second of the day. Like, I just don't want to be in a trade. And then if the setup presents itself, I'm like, okay, shit, I just need to take this because it's such a good trade. And, you know, that mindset helps me with being picky, right? And it also helps me to just not be on my phone the entire day or when I wake up, right? I'm just in a different, you know, time within my life for that. Are you specialized on Bitcoin? Yes, I only trade Bitcoin. Mainly trade Bitcoin. I do the occasional trade on Ethereum, but I just really like trading Bitcoin. It's my bread and butter, so to say. So I don't really like to trade altcoins, if I'm honest. Like, not on the way on how I'm trading Bitcoin, right? If I'm trading altcoins, it's always going to be a daily or 12-hour chart. And I'm not going to go lower most of the time. Right, but for Bitcoin, I just know, I don't know how, you know, it's kind of, I've been doing this for so long, like I kind of know how, or it's easy for me to recognize certain patterns within a day. You're referring to the imbalance? The imbalance, let me check this one, the imbalance. The only reason why I'll see you in the next one, Primor. Thank you for the great questions. Take care, buddy. Have a fantastic Sunday. I don't have this on because I like, you know, it's better, but I'm just autistic. So during the streams, I try to have like a clean looking chart, if that makes sense. Are you special? Okay, I got that question. Papa is asking, any reason you got the bid and ask? Okay, I just covered that. Then Griff is asking, did you trade with this system while you had a 9-to-5 job? I never had a 9-to-5. I was working shifts. So actually what I was doing prior to trading Bitcoin full time was I was a mechanic. And I had one shift one, let's say week one, I was working from 0:05 in the morning until 14 in the afternoon, like 2 p.m. afternoon, right? That was week one. And then week after that was 12 in the afternoon until usually like 23 or 11 p.m. You know, to try and fix all the machines. And then it start all over. Week one again. Week one. I start 5 until 2, right? And then week 2 gets back into play. And then on Saturdays, I would work every week. So I would do this. And then whenever I had this weekly shift from 5 until 2, I would go home. And then from 14:30 or 2:30 was my trading start. Like the start of my trading day. And I was like, okay, yeah, I can capture New York Open with this time frame. I can, you know, educate myself. So I was doing this for quite some years. Where with this week, I was trying to trade New York. This week, I was trying to trade London Open. And then whatever free time I had, I was just learning about stuff. And, you know, during this time frame, my main focus was a price action chart. I wasn't really looking at order flow for that matter, because if you have like a select point of view I think, you know, or a high time frame perspective, if I were to teach myself when I was first starting out, I would tell myself, you know what? Ditch the order flow before you're getting started. Get VWAPs on your chart, in particular the yearly, quarterly, monthly, and the weekly, and then start on the H12 chart and execute on the hourly chart. And by that, I would mean if you see a previous quarterly value low there, and we're forming an H12 swing low there, right? And then the next bar opens up and we sweep that H12. When this occurs, this candle closes, I would say switch to the H1 chart. And then if the H1 chart looks like this, where let's not draw it like that. Let's do it like this. This is the first H12 candle. Then we form an hourly high here. Then we take out that low with the second H12 candle, and then we close above right there, right? Then I would say to myself, mark out this high. And whenever we're getting a close above that high, you just buy. Get the stop below the low, and then target for a 2-hour trade, right? It needs to be 2-hour for me to take the trade anyways, but I would say stick to this and then purely base that on VWAP. Because if you're just getting started, like, I'll be honest, it looks super cool, right? This looks cool. TPO super good. I love TPO, especially, you know, for intraday trade, stuff like that. But if you're just getting started, there's no need for all of this, right? Show yourself that you're profitable by looking at basic structures, and then, right, and only then we're going to be fine-tuning our stuff where we're like, okay, you know what? There was the 90-day rolling VWAP was here, right here, slightly above this high volume delta. The 90-day rolling VWAP was here, right? Based on order flow, we form an initial low, right? Then I would say, okay, you know what? This is the typical Mousetrap setup where I'm like, okay, first thing about the Mousetrap setup is that we need to form a bunch of lows because 1, there's going to be stops below that low. Number 2, there's going to be breakout traders, right? Waiting for this to soak below the low and then, you know, start aggressively shorting this, trying to break this lower. And then we know as an informed trader, when this low gets revisited, right? Let me zoom in a bit more. So when this low gets revisited, let me get the bid-ask imbalance right here. So we take out the low, right? We got 14 million there, 11 million. So they're selling their ass off here, heading into that low. Then what we want to see, pretty basic. I would argue that we can get long here. But if you want to be more conservative, wait for that structure break above the 96.64. And then, you know, we want to see the imbalance. Buyers lifting the offer, right? Left side is sellers, right side is buyers. For example, in this case, we go down, right? We see a large amount of sell delta at the lows. What do we see here? Look at the aggression by the buyers. The buying balance. Insane buying balance within this bar. And then what happens is that we get the rotation higher, right? Into VWAP and then higher. But is this truly needed when you're just starting out? No. This is needed when you get the hang of things and you want to fine tune your edge. Okay? What's up, Stein? Good to see you, bro. So does that answer your question, Griff? Kind of went a bit overboard with the answer in terms of if I did trade this system during my 9 to 5. But I didn't, you know, difference is I didn't do 9 to 5. So Alika is asking, how important is open interest and CVD for you, sir? Okay, listen. I like it, but don't focus too much on it. Because open interest, if we're getting into a low, right? Let's say that we're starting auctioning into a low, and open interest is doing an insane grind upwards. It's an indication that they're shorting their ass off, right, into that low. That's potential trigger, right? If we get above their pain point. But if we head into a low pretty swiftly and open interest just takes a nosedive, right? It's also a sign of exhaustion. So either way, right, we can just find a bottom and then get the reversion. So I think open interest, CVD were really good back in the day, like 2017-ish. That's where I think they would have like, well, you know, where I would be like, okay, I'm really taking this into consideration. For me, however, the way how I am trading, like I'm looking at them, but if I'm, for example, not seeing what I want to see in the open interest, but I see within everything else, I'll just take the trade nonetheless. Because for those of you who've been following me for quite a while know that I try to keep it as stupidly simple as possible And the more things you need to take a look at, the more things will, eventually cause noise when you're trading. How long I've been trading? Bro, since the end of 2016 is when I started. So 10 years now. Feels like a fucking lifetime, bro. But 10 years. 10 years trading Bitcoin. I'm only using leverage to reduce the risk that I'm having on the exchange. So I'm not using leverage to really be like, oh, I need to have 50x leverage. No, I just try to use leverage, the tool leverage, to mitigate my risk on an exchange, right? Because if I use 10x leverage, I need to have less capital on the exchange. So that's why I'm using leverage. Is it not a profitable to trade only with volume profiles? Kevin is asking, and put some EMA on top of it. For sure. You can use volume profile and EMA as long as it works for you. As long as you are able to see the pattern that you need to see unfold before taking a trade. Mick is asking how many questions I'm getting on average per week. Also really dependent on how the profiles are looking. Like, do we have a clean setup? I've said this at the beginning or halfway in the stream. I try to be not in a trade. Because if I'm putting the mindset like, oh, I need to have 30 trades a week, I'll take, probably take 20 shit trades because I need to, in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, I need to be in a trade. So I'm thinking I don't want to be in a trade. And then when something forms where I'm like, oh, this is such a good trade. Okay, let's take it. Right? So it really depends on how the actual chart's looking, what type of compression we're getting. Jama saying, I love you, sweet C2M. Bro, I love you too, man. I love you too. That's a long time indeed, man. Yeah, it is. But honestly, like, it's second nature to me. Like, I love it. I'm just addicted to this game. I think it's because I'm a mechanic by heart. And I just like to solve this puzzle, which I think is trading. Like, I want to solve the puzzle and be profitable. I'm a bit late. Are you taking into this weekly view up? Yeah, bro. Look, let me show you daily review. So you can pause the stream here. This is the summary that we did. And I definitely take this into account because the upcoming previous week VWAP is around 94,755. This needs to hold. Like, we need to get above here. But so far, this 2-day composite value low is capping upside, right? We're not able to accept back above. And the moment we do, it's going to be really important to hold it. Because if we take out these highs, right? And then close below here, I think it's done. And we're going to get the rotation lower. Right? Preferably below the previous week VWAP and then boom. But if we can do this, then that, I think we might have a shot for a move higher. Yeah, I think ETH is doing a bit better. Yeah, for sure. Quick peek at Ethereum. Let's take a quick peek. Okay, yearly. Ethereum is trading within the upper half of yearly value, right? Previous VWAP is support until proven otherwise. This is why we're getting the low that's being formed here, right? Exactly at that previous year VWAP. In case of some weird ass push above, on the yearly time frame, 4K seems like the technical point, okay? Below previous year VWAP, and it's gonna be really ugly back into 22s, right? But do we have anything that we can use heading into this week? No, we can't. If we're taking a look at the quarterly, it's pretty much the same story compared to the yearly. We have previous quarterly VWAP there, 3,500. We've got previous quarterly value low there. Is there anything that we can use within our trading right now? No, there's not. Okay, so we're ignoring the quarterly for now. Then we have the monthly value high here from November. Where is that? Let me check that out. Let's go towards an hourly chart. 3485. 3485. Do I have that on my chart? 3485. 3485. Yeah. Okay. It's confluent with previous quarterly VWAP. Okay, that's good. So besides that, Ethereum, let me go back towards stage 4. Ethereum has sweep of the lows into the developing month value high. And then it had that close above. Look, this is what I was talking about on Bitcoin, right? We took out the low. We close back above the close of the opposing candle. That's bullish. We have some sort of consolidation. Then we get the continuation higher. Okay, bullish. Short term, let's get rid of the crosshair again. We are now getting capped at the developing week value high, which, mind you, is going to be the previous week value high in a bit. So if Ethereum is really going to be bullish, we need to see this trading higher, because if it doesn't, we just simply remain rotational between value high and VWAP there. Okay, so let's add those on the chart. Developing week value high, and I'm going to be calling this previous week value high already, because it's going to be the case tomorrow. 3355. Whoops. 3355, previous week value high. Developing week VWAP is going to be previous week VWAP. 3270, 3270. Previous week VWAP, like that. All right. Let's get that out of the way. Rolling VWAPs, what do we have? Do we have anything of interest? Okay. Retested 90-day to the tick. Then got the structure break, right? Look at that. Beautiful. Move higher. Consolidation. Back up. So I think, let's get that out of the way. Whoops. I don't want to have that. From an H12 perspective, to me, if Ethereum can break back above previous week value high, the draw on liquidity certainly is above this high. And at that point, I think the cap on upside is probably going to be around previous quarterly VWAP before anything else. If we get above there, super bullish. But are we going to be getting there on the first attempt? I don't know, right? So the range right now, short term, is going to be between the previous week value high, the upcoming previous week value high, right? And the previous week VWAP. If we are not able to accept above, right? Let's say that we do that. If we're not able to accept above here, get back below, do something like that. I think we're getting the flush lower back into previous week VWAP. Below previous week VWAP, and this is auctioning towards previous month value high, confluent with the 8-week value high. Above previous week value high. And this is trading higher into the swing high, confluent with this poor high there, into the previous quarterly VWAP. Is that clear? Any questions regarding this? And do you see how quick that goes? Like we're just taught like 5 minutes. Ethereum. The yearly, where are we? Quarterly, where are we? Monthly, where is it? Compared to developing value, above. Weekly, ooh, let's be mindful. If you're not looking at VWAP and you see this, you're like, oh shit, I need to get in along here, right? But this just helps me get everything in line and be like, okay, wait a minute. Let's just let it show me that we can trade above and then for continuation higher. Because until then, this is just resistance until proven otherwise to me. We got a high volume bar here. No, we don't. All right. Safe. Let's see. Okay, Nifra, is that clear for you in terms of Ethereum? I'm only able to take 1-2 trades a week because I find Bitcoin confusion and I feel like that's too low. No, man. Focus on quality trades. Get the reps in. Like you don't have to. Like trading is a marathon, bro, not a sprint. Like I you know, you saw my shifts, right? Where I was doing the weekly shifts. I did that for a couple of years, bro. It takes time. It takes genuine time to be, you know, comfortable enough where like, you know, at the beginning, everybody's watching Twitter, right? Everybody's watching certain feeds where they're like, I need to know what trader XYZ is talking about, right? Where are we going? No, bro, right? Or joining a signal service group to be like, okay, I need to know. I can understand if people are too busy and they want to, you know, with work, they would just want to know when to buy and when to sell, you know, fair game. But I think it's easier if you just learn yourself on, okay, I need to get the tools, right? I want to be able to, you know, facilitate trades myself and not being dependent on someone else. Mick is saying, I saw all your streams on repeat. Been very helpful in my trading. Really love your work and explanations. You're very welcome, man. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Kevin is saying, thank you for the answer. One more question. You talked about minimum of 2R trade. What I also do, but I always reverses at 1.2R, 1.5 or something. Well, then you have to take a look at, okay, what are you targeting, right? Are you targeting like the wrong stuff, or Are you being, you know, if new data comes in, like, are you being too aggressive? Or, for example, this, right? If we sweep this high, then we get the close below this 30-minute opposing candle right here. Can we take a short? What is a 2-hour trade there, right? 2-hour trade. Stop above the high. Can we target this into the 90-day rolling VWAP as a TP? Can we? Right here, it was pushing it, right? But at that point, I'm like, okay, what do we have here? We've got equal lows. So I always try to look for some sort of anomaly. Like, does price have a reason to go lower, right? Pair it off with pending liquidity. That's, you know, what I tend to do. How do you get fixed range VWAPs? This is my own VWAP indicator, which I'm offering on Prime Trading. Let me see. Can I get to the actual front page? No, I cannot. Shit site. But this is my own indicator, but you can get plenty of. I think there's multiple multi-time frame indicators on TradingView. It's slightly different compared to mine, but it should do the trick more than enough. Like, if you know where you want to be trading at. Can you show us which 3-day you merged for Bitcoin? It's a 2-day actually, and it's this 2-day. Look. If we're to reset this profile, reset this TPO, these 2 days is what I've merged together as a 2-day composite. And now we're just forming a shit ton of anomalies. So it's going to be an interesting week. The sweep of the low in Ethereum was also a test of 90 rolling VWAP. Yeah, man, it was. To the tick as well. Like, really nice. CCM is asking if there will be a world where you will have to trade only altcoins. What will be the first thing you look at one altcoin to determine the range? I would probably trade hype because I just like how that trades. And I would just use TP over that and VWAP. Because if I'm trying to base a range on purely price action, it's hard for me. Like, is this the range high? Is that the range high? Or is this even a range high and this a deviation, right? It's too much guesswork for me where I'm like, you know, let's take a look at volume profile or VWAP with the standard deviations and then base it on that. Because hype, where are you at? Top 30, I guess. Oh no, it's here, hype. Right, so same thing. Let's do hype and then I'll wrap up the stream, okay? Hype, weekly. So mind you, for altcoins, I generally do not put too much emphasis on the weekly. I take a look at the yearly, quarterly, and then the monthly. I'll see you tomorrow, Mowgli. Take care, man. Thank you for attending the stream. Have a good one. Okay, so on the yearly, hype is rotational within lower half of previous year value. So to me, this is why I'm saying 20. If we're getting it, right? I'm not sure if we're getting it, but if hype trades back into 20, I want to be a buyer. Like 20 to 16. If we get like a fill deviation, fill break below previous year value, like that would be good. Good opportunity for a swing long back into 32 for me. So, you know, the yearly were rotational within the middle of value. The quarterly is bearish on hype, where we're trading below previous quarterly value. So if we're going up, right, this is the range. Range high, range low. That's the range on hype. Impulse move up before we break structure, right? And then we get the consolidation. Range high, range low. What do we have above range high? Previous quarterly value high. So this is going to be a sticky point for me. Where I'm like, okay, if we go up, this is probably where we're going to be capping upside. Conversely, if we go down, we have previous year value low there, right? To get long. Then we're taking on the monthly, right here. And this is on the H4, right? So on the H4, we take out a bunch of highs into previous month VWAP. Okay, you say to yourself, well, what's next? I don't know. Let's do, you know, this is, I'm not going to be buying this because I need to have some sort of a range before getting involved, right? But what I do know on the H4 is that this close of the opposing candle prior to the sweep of these highs is what needs to hold a support. If we're getting a candle close through, I'll be bearish, right? Right there. And I'll have my stop above this high. And what am I targeting based on the monthly? I'm targeting value low. Because if we have a failed auction above previous month VWAP, we can expect this to trade lower into the value low again, right? So that being said, the monthly rotational within lower bands of previous month value. Nothing really to take, into account. If we take out this low, then reclaim it, might be bullish. But until then, nothing really out of the ordinary. The weekly, I'm not putting emphasis on the weekly in terms of altcoins, okay? So let's get hype on the charts here. Hype. 12-hour chart, do we have anything here? I've got this box marked out because this is where I want to be a buyer. The range on hype is from this high towards this low. This is the higher time frame range, okay? Now, let's mark out the yearly value first. Let's go towards an hourly chart because that's the most accurate one in terms of plotting the VWAPs. Previous year value low is here, right there. So I'll just show you guys how I'm marking up my charts. 19.80, 19.8. And this is previous year value low. Previous year VWAP. Previous year VWAP, like that. Coordinates 31.35, 31.35. All right. What else? Previous quarterly value low here. By the way, for those of you who are with us still, leave a like on the stream. 29.26, as it helps my channel grow. I'm still aiming for 10k subs, but I don't know how the bigger accounts do it, bro. Like, there are 300k followers on Twitter. I'm still at 40k. And my YouTube as well. All right. Quarterly done. Monthly. Previous month VWAP. Look at how clean that is. Previous month VWAP. Previous month VWAP. And then we've got the previous month value low. Okay. Previous month value low. All right. Let's get everything. Rolling VWAP. What's that doing? Yearly confluent with previous year. Okay. That's good. Confluence. Alrighty. So. H12. In terms of, a quality trade. We've now plotted all the levels that I have on the charts, which I deem interesting for hype on the longer term, right? We have a swing point here, a pivot in the form of an H12 low. We didn't sweep that yet. We did sweep this low. We got H12 support here. We did sweep this low as well. So I'm like, you know what? If we sweep this low, then close as a SFP here, then have an hourly market structure break, it might be a good long for a move back into the previous month VWAP, right? So that's how I'm thinking already, right? Maybe we sweep the low, hourly displacement, get long for a move to previous month VWAP. Long term, I think, if hype, really gives the opportunity to break down from this range, right? Form another range here. At that point, I think anything here in this gray box, that's going to be a good buy. And then the confirmation is, the typical power of street, right? Consolidation, manipulation, and then expansion. If we're getting that, I think the gray box is a great area to look for longer term trades on hype. But until then, we can just trade these, right? Sweep this high, break back within the range, bearish for a move lower. If we're getting above previous year VWAP, I think low is in. And we're going to go way up. Okay. You should have 100k subscribers. I wish, man. I'm getting there. Slow and steady wins the race, man. Slow and steady wins the race. Are there any other assets to trade like Bitcoin? Yeah, everything. Just like I'm doing right now. Ethereum, hype, Bitcoin. I wouldn't really do it on Farcoin, for example. Like, that would be shit, but you get the point. The 2-month value area high, you can definitely take that into consideration for sure. I just don't really want to overcomplicate things for the stream, if that makes sense. What's the gray box on hype? It's where I want to be buying. If, if it allows me to. Yeah, that's true, man. That's true. Okay. And I think with that, I would like to conclude today's stream, guys. We had a good run. Been streaming for an hour straight. It's time to spend some time with the missus. And then for the guys within Discord, I'll be back tomorrow morning, same time. Thank you guys for joining the stream. Thank you guys for the great questions. I had a lot of fun doing the stream. And remember, if you want to have access to the indicators, right? Get access to the Discord. We've got partnerships, right? You can trade on Bybit and get everything for free. You just need to log in on our website and then make an account on Bybit, user ID or Blowfin, whatever. And then if you're not able to trade on those, right? I highly recommend Breakout. And if you make a new account on Breakout and then do know your customer, stuff like that, to get an account, you'll get a free month as well by using my code PRIME. Okay, thank you guys. That's a wrap. And I will see you guys in the next one, man. Take care. Much love.